morning. Oh, I'm giving myself the ick already. Hi everyone, my name's Grace and welcome to my first YouTube video. I have wanted to start YouTube probably for the majority of my life, to be honest. That sounds a little bit excessive, but I guess since YouTube became popular for people to make their own videos on, and I guess in terms of my life that probably would have been when I was maybe like 13 or 14 and I'm now 31. I have always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to, I guess, be creative in a way that's sort of different to how I usually am. But there's always been something holding me back. I guess a nervousness of what other people think, or if I'm doing a poor job. And I've always been someone who, unfortunately for me, needs to have all of the gear and like a really structured way to start something to be able to do it. And that obviously means a lot of the time I never end up starting anything, because, to be honest, I don't want to invest lots of money into a tripod and a vlogging camera and all of this, mumbo jumbo, when I don't know whether or not I'll actually be good at it or if I'll actually enjoy doing it. So I actually watched a video on TikTok yesterday, which hopefully I can link to in the description bar, which was talking about the sort of ambitiousness of individuals, but the inherent laziness which stops them from then doing the things that they want to do. And it was a really interesting watch. I think it was probably about 5 or 6 minutes long, which for me on TikTok is like, my attention span clearly is still working. But it really resonated with me, and the creator was talking a lot about the sort of like 4 or 5 main ways in which we feel stopped or stunted in being able to begin the things that we want to do. And a lot of the ones that sort of spoke to me were, I guess, decision paralysis, in terms of there being almost too much choice. And I do somewhat feel that that is also a problem I experience, because in my adult life, I've started to become someone who really enjoys collecting hobbies. And I would say that I actually do have a lot of hobbies that take up a lot of my free time. I'm a very avid knitter and crocheter. At the beginning of this year, I did a sewing course and have started to learn to sew. I read quite a lot, and then I also live in London, so there's a lot of things to do, people to see, and friends to spend time with. So I guess there's a hesitancy for me to start adding another hobby into the mix. There was also conversation in this video about difficulty with, like being stuck in a loop, doing the same thing on a different day, never really being able to break out of that cycle. And I've really been feeling that in my life recently, where my days do feel quite monotonous and quite cyclical. And I've been finding it quite hard to feel motivated to do anything really. I'm a big believer that energy breeds energy. So if you're in the habit of doing things and being creative and being active and going out and spending time with people, it's much easier to keep doing that. But I think I've fallen into a little bit of a bad habit where I don't go out as much as I would want to, because I'm trying to save money or trying to be healthy or whatever it might be. And it means that the next time I get invited to do something, particularly if it's a weeknight, I find it really hard to go. And it's also, I think, that kind of translates into like starting new hobbies. So I'd been saying to my friends for years that I wanted to learn to sew, and it was only when my friends very kindly bought me my sewing course for my 30th birthday that I had the motivation to kind of get up and actually start that. And I think, again, it's the same with this YouTube adventure and experimentation. So that video actually was a real driving force for why I have decided today of all days to just get started. I think a lot of people know that when they say, you want to do something, you don't need all the gear, you don't need to really know what you're doing, you just need to in this essence, pick up a camera and start talking to it. So we're gonna give it a go. I've picked possibly the most boring day ever to record and to sort of start this adventure, I suppose, into becoming a creator on YouTube. I am working from home today. I have not much in the cards really. I am hoping to go to the gym on my lunch break and then to my local walled store after work, because I have seen a new pattern which I want to try out, potentially to make a costume or an outfit for Harry Styles, which I'm going to in June. I think that seems unrealistic because I'm actually a very slow knitter, and it is two-stranded work, and I've not done that before. I'm quite a novice still, and it's also with lace weight and sequins, which I think is going to be a bit finicky. But we can't get better unless we try these things. So that's the plan. I literally have not much else to do. I am also needing to pack for my upcoming holiday. So I'm going to be doing that at some point today as well. But yeah, thank you for clicking on this video, and I guess we'll see where this takes us. But yeah, let's get started. I just thought I would take this moment whilst my cup of tea is brewing to speak a little bit about my current work in progress, which is looking very messy on the cables currently. This is it. It is my attempt, my version of the Breezy Long Sleeve by Kiss Kiss Rhinestones. And I'm doing it in this really beautiful sort of like cornflower blue, I think it is. Maybe it's like periwinkle. It's stunning, and it is currently being knit up in this organic cotton by Rico. I think the colour is just number 31, and it's honestly stunning. The actual fibre is really nice to knit with, and it seems to be going pretty quickly. I believe I'm using, 4.5 needles, which I think is about 0.5 millimeters bigger than the pattern recommends, but I wasn't hitting gauge. I sound like I know what I'm doing. I'm not really very knowledgeable about gauge and sort of garment making, to be honest. I knit a lot and have knitted a lot over previous years, but never with much success. And I would say it's only been in the last sort of maybe a year and a half, actually whilst watching a lot of YouTubers that knit and crochet and I guess just make things, that I've felt a bit more confident and seem to have a little bit of a better knowledge of what I'm doing. So this is going to be hopefully my first completed garment that actually fits and looks nice on me. I've made quite a few things in the past, but I find unfortunately with a lot of knitting patterns and plus size bodies, not that I'm more mid-sized to be fair, they don't go well for me, to be honest. I don't know whether or not that's just because they don't consider the proportions of maybe a slightly larger woman, or it might be down to personal error, which to be honest is more likely. But a lot of the time I will make something and it won't fit my arms or it won't fit my bust, or it just doesn't look right. So this is actually my second attempt at making this. So I started off by making the very largest size because I'm nothing if not body conscious, and just assumed that would, be better to make the bigger size and then deal with the consequences. But as I was knitting it up, it was much too big for me. So I've kind of gone down now, I think 2 sizes, to what I'm hoping is going to be a more appropriate size for me. So we're going to work on this over the next few days. I think it's probably going to take me a while, because I think the length of this needs to be about 51 centimeters, and I think I'm just hitting 30 centimeters in the minute. So I've got a fair bit of a mileage to get through. But I am really enjoying it. The pattern's been relatively easy to understand and follow. And there was one moment where I was a bit unsure what the instructions were saying, but I managed to find some information and guidance on Reddit, so that was really useful. Funnily enough, the other pattern, which I've spoken about being interested in doing, is another one by Kiss Kiss Rhinestones. I just love everything she creates. I think she's a genius, to be honest. She's really sort of hit the nail on the head in terms of like the fashion and styling that I enjoy, particularly when it comes to sort of knitting. So it was a recent release, I believe, maybe just last week, but I might have that wrong. And it is her top 3,000, which is this guy. So I have already got some sequin yarn, which I optimistically bought last Christmas, and then found really difficult to use because I was just trying to knit it as it was, and it was very, very, very fine. And I've been thinking about what to do with it, honestly, probably for about 7 months. I think I bought it in October, something like that. Maybe even longer than 7 months. My mental maths is not good. And then I saw that she released this pattern, and I was like, that's perfect. So I'm hoping to go down to the wool shop near my house later today. It's in Herne Hill in London. And I'm going to see if I can pick up some fine cotton to knit with it alongside, to kind of just give a little bit more structure to the sequins as per the pattern. And I guess we'll go from there. I'm really hoping, and again, really optimistic, that I can get this made for the 13th of June, which is when my friends and I are going to go and watch Harry Styles on his new tour at Wembley. And I just thought that the little like sequin tank top would be very cool, and would look very appropriate for a Harry Styles concert. However, I go away next week. Actually, I go away on Saturday for a week. I'm going to Alicante for a friend's wedding. And I'm always a bit nervous about taking knitting needles on a flight, just in case they're seen as like a weapon or something. So I might not take knitting stuff. I might take crochet stuff instead, just to kind of avoid the faff. So I'm going to be in Spain until Thursday of next week, and that already takes me to the end of May. And the concert is only on the 13th of June. So I think I'm being optimistic, but you know, live and let die. We've got to try these things, haven't we? So yeah, that is my current work in progress. The workday now, and I've taken myself to my local park. It is a beautiful day. The sun is finally out in London, and it's actually quite warm. And I'm sat here in just a t-shirt with no sleeves. I'm looking around quite a lot, so I'm a bit nervous to be filming in the park, but this is how I'm spending my Thursday afternoon. My fiance is in the office today and having some drinks with his work colleagues, so I thought I would take advantage of the weather being so nice. So I walked down to my local wool shop in Herne Hill called Sharpworks, and I'm a big fan of that shop. I'll put in some clips, I think, either before or after. But basically the reason why is because I bought this yarn in like October time, because I saw a TikTok and I was really like blown away by how beautiful the thing was that the girl made. But I was trying to knit with it just as it was, like single strand, and it was a bit of a nightmare, to be perfectly honest. So I've been holding on to it for a while now, trying to figure out what to make. And I saw, as I mentioned earlier in this video, that Kiss Kiss Rhinestones had brought out a sparkly sequin top called Top 3000, I think it is, off the top of my head. And that is held double with sort of like a cashmere blend. I did not want to splurge on a cashmere blend because I was looking in that shop and it was like £12 something for like 25 grams, and I would need obviously like more than 25 grams to make a t-shirt, a top. So I ended up getting this Mode at Rowan alpaca haze, and this was much more reasonably priced. This was just under £5.50 I think from memory, so I got 4 skeins of that. I'm not sure if it's right or if it will work, but I thought for £25 for sort of the bundle of 4, I thought that would be much more reasonable. It wasn't even £25, it was, I can tell you what it was. It was £23.80, but I got NHS discount, so I got it down to £21.42, which I thought was really reasonable. So the hope is that I'm going to use this Lang Palettes yarn, which is, I think, colour 28. I'm going to hold that double. There was a bit of a colour disparity in that this is a lot more yellow and this is a lot more orange, but I'm hoping that with the mixing of the two, it will really blend out and make a nice orangey yellow colour. So that's going to be one of my future knitting plans. But I thought whilst I'm on and talking that I would talk about one of my most recent makes, which is looking a little bit lopsided and misshapen currently because it's got so much stuff in it. But it is this raffia sort of woven crochet bag, which I made, I think, probably about a month ago now. There's definitely some things that could be improved on this if I was to make it again. I was using a pattern from the Rico book. I'll insert a clip of this when I get back later. And I didn't enjoy the way that the patterns are written. I found them really kind of hard to understand because they would put what I didn't know at the time, the American crochet and then the English crochet. But the English was the first and the American crochet was in the brackets, and I googled what that meant, and Google was telling me that it meant to do both of those stitches in one go. So for example, I was having to treble crochet to make the base of this bag because it's obviously quite sturdy, but then I was adding in a double crochet too into the same stitch because that's what I thought I had to do. It was only after talking to the lovely lady that runs Sharpworks, the knitting store in Herne Hill, that I realised that you do either or, depending on if you English crochet or American crochet. So the base of this is a little bit misshapen. You can sort of see here where I've sort of figured out things were going wrong and then just did what I thought was right. But to be honest, you can't really tell. There's also a little bit of misshapenness, I guess, on the edge, but I haven't actually blocked this yet, so I need to do that. But to be honest, it's in rotation so much at the minute that I haven't had a chance to block it and let it dry. So yeah, it carries an awful lot of stuff. I was a bit concerned about how strong it was, just purely because the straps in question are very narrow, and I was worried that they wouldn't hold the weight of a bag, but so far seems to be pretty good. So maybe I'll do a what's in my bag whilst I'm here. You're currently leaning against my water bottle, but it fit in my 750ml Awala, which is full, might I add. I've got my sunglasses case. I have my current project bag, which had the Lang Palettes, and it has my current whip in it because I thought I might do a little bit of knitting in the park. What else did I have? I also bought myself my chili tumbler, which has some ice in it, which has managed to keep it relatively cool because I'm going to make a cocktail and have it here whilst I knit. So I brought this little jam jar to put it in, and I just popped into Tesco and got 2 of the moth pre-mixed cocktails because they were
£7 for both, which I thought was quite reasonable. So I've got the spicy margarita, and I've also just got the regular margarita. I think I'm going to start with the spicy and see if I fancy the second one later. And then I just have my wallet in case I get ID'd, although that happens a lot less frequently now that I'm 31, and my house keys. And that's it. So yeah, she carries an awful lot of stuff, and I'm in love with her, and so much so that I was talking about the bag to a friend, and she's asked for me to make her one. So that is on my very long list of things to do. So I'm going to spend maybe an hour or so, maybe a bit longer, depending on how I feel, how hungry I get, just enjoying the park and just soaking in the rays and having a little bit of fresh air. And then I'll go back to the flat when Ben gets back from work. Bye!